are up. So I think that's partially, honestly, I think part of that is his arrest, right? Is that's confidence building in crypto, is that people are going to be held accountable, right? So that's number one. And then you had the CPI data this morning that came out better than expected as well. And yeah, I mean, I think that means lower inflation means the Fed's not as harsh, and that's a positive for crypto, hopefully.
Yeah, did they come? They came out with new numbers today.
Yeah, CPI numbers, so consumer price index, and that's basically like a basket of goods that we as consumers buy. They analyze the prices of those on a monthly basis, and it only went up 0.1% from last month, which was better than expected. So I mean, it did go up, but it didn't go up a whole lot. And so the hope is that inflation's finally starting to break lower. Tomorrow's the Fed, though. Remember, Fed
Yep.
decision 2 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. That's going to be a big one to hear what Jerome Powell has to say. Basis points. That really won't be a surprise to the market. It's going
Yeah.
to be whatever he says after that. So does he say like, rates are going to have to remain high for 5 years? That's going to freak the market out. If he says, oh, we're going to continue to monitor the economy and we'll do what we have to do, then that would be a positive for the markets. We did so this is the beauty of it, right? So this is what I love about charts, is that charts basically give you an insight into what's going to happen. It doesn't guarantee it, but it gives you insight. And what you can see here is we had this little move up right here.
Yeah.
And this is the daily chart. So every candle here is 1 day. And basically from that point on, we went sideways. And this is known in the technical trading sphere as a bull flag. So bull flag meaning bullish, and price should pop. And that's exactly what it's doing here. Now, it's not a big pop, but again, we're in the middle of a bear market with FTX. So what do we expect? But again, it did tell us that you should have some sort of move up, and we did get that move up. For me, this is your next big area of resistance, right around 18,500. All these kind of lows right in here, that's going to be the next level that price has to try to get through to make a move up. So we'll see what happens here.
Ooh.
The Fed tomorrow, I would basically say I expect crypto quiet until then, and then you'll see some big reaction up or down on the Fed. Already expects 50 and it's already priced in. The market
Really?
tends to price these things in. It's all about, like, they're going to guide us for the future after that, right? So they're going to say, okay, guys, we're going to raise another 50 in January, and then that would be a reaction because we don't expect that. Or they're going to say, oh, we're not going to raise it all in January, and the market would get really happy. So it's more what they guide versus what actually occurs tomorrow. Since the markets always are really good at pricing things in ahead of time. It's whatever his comments are that we don't know yet, and that's what markets will react to tomorrow. Look at almost any time frame, right? So we could go to the hourly chart here, and if we look at the hourly chart, you have the same general thing, right? So you can see it's a little sloppier on this time frame, but you have this move up here, so you have this move, and then basically you went sideways here, and then sideways right down here, and that's your bullish pattern that leads to that move up, right? So again, you can definitely see it on different time frames. So there's your up move, and then there's your sideways choppy consolidation. Basically, when something consolidates, so this is what people have to understand, is that after a big move up, there's a propensity for people to sell into it. So if you had a lot of sellers, if you had a ton of sellers more than buyers, price would come right back down. But the reason why it's bullish when it goes sideways is that it ultimately means that investors, bulls and bears, are equaling each other, right? So even after this run, there were still a decent amount of buyers that were offsetting the amount of sellers, and that's why price goes sideways, because there's an equal amount. And that's showing you that even after the up move, there's still buying interest, and it's usually a very bullish sign for the next move up. Yeah, they're just, you got one or two sellers, you got one or two buyers, one or two sellers, buyers, sellers, buyers, and that creates that sideways chop. And again, it's more of a psychological thing where eventually people say, wait a minute, there really weren't that many sellers after that move up. So then they start to get more bullish, and you get that kind of next breakout here, and then it kind of cascades with that bigger move to the upside. So just kind of cool. I mean, everything about charts is representing psychology, right? So It's human nature, buyers and sellers, greed and fear, and all that kind of stuff that's kind of going back and forth. It makes Bitcoin thinner. Sometimes more dramatic moves can occur. You'd still think that if someone wanted to sell, though, they could put it back on and quickly sell. But it certainly shows us that there's a certain amount of people that are just like, hey, listen, I'm in for the long haul no matter what. and I'll go down with the ship or I'll be a millionaire, one or the other. Possibility. I doubt by itself the Fed would cause a big sell-off. I think that in general, you have to look at it like, okay, so the Fed could maybe push prices back down a little bit, but it's probably another shoe to drop if we're going to get that big drop. But this is the kicker, right, is that I do think that there will be something that happens like that. So what we know is, they say things happen in threes.
Yeah.
So you had Terra Luna, you had FTX. So which is the third one? And, it's like, when I hear about like two people that died, I'm like, who's there's always like a third one. I know that's kind of morbid, but yeah. But it's like, so you do think that there's something else. And I think also the biggest threat to crypto outside of kind of these FTX scenarios is what happens when the stock market takes another big drop. And right now we've been in this, basically at the S&P's been sideways to up now for, basically since October. And so we've had now almost 3 months of sideways to up action. At some point, the stock market's going to really drop another, I think, 20-25%. And can Bitcoin withstand that, or does it drive it down?
So that still indicates strong correlation to the traditional markets.
Yeah, just because it's more so that so little down moves in the stock market, I don't think it's super correlated anymore. It's more that when you get really a lot of fear, because fear is very pervasive. So if you have crypto and you have stocks and your stock account is just getting smoked, like you're down, so much money, you start to get panicky, and then you see Bitcoin down ticking a little bit. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I don't want to lose that much. So you sell, and it's everyone kind of reacting in that same way that can create that kind of thing. In fact, what's interesting is that when COVID occurred, when we had that March sell-off, 2020, gold, which is notoriously a safe asset, people go to gold for safety, it sold off with crypto, with the stock market for a very short amount of time because everyone just panicked and was like, I'm selling everything. And then gold quickly came back afterwards. But it's that initial reaction,
Yeah.
I think eventually you'll see more and more of a rotation into that. I think for me, that's still a really long way off. And I think that already Bitcoin had a little bit of money from gold. Like some investors went to Bitcoin. I think they probably regret that at this point since it's fallen so much. But yeah, I do think that over time that will happen. Just it's going to be a long time frame for it to really take over. Like one of the things you could say is like in 50 years, we're probably mining Mars for gold and asteroids for gold. So there could be so much gold in the universe that, what's gold really worth at that point? I don't know. But that's still, Elon Musk still has to get that underway. We just need people to start to accept it. And obviously that's going to take a process. And one of the things I was thinking about is you could make a case that everything that's going on right now in crypto, including the Fed not doing quantitative easing, is actually really good for long-term Bitcoin and crypto because it's forcing Bitcoin to walk on its own, right? So since 2009, Bitcoin's had like this printing of money where everyone's like, oh, well, printing of money is making it go up. Well, now if it can actually stand on its own 2 feet without that, with all this nonsense out of the way, then people could say, okay, this is actually a real thing now,